This Premier League Futures edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is giving away $15 million in Best Ball Mania 5. Sign up with our code PLGP to claim your first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code PLGP. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections, and their football models are almost live. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is, got absolutely no idea, Sunday, July the 28th. And tonight we're going to have our first little sniff around the Premier League. This is the Premier League Gambling Podcast, after all. So 2 weeks slightly in advance of kick-off on the 16th of August. We're going to have a look around quite a lot of markets, or I am anyway, as many markets as we can delve into. Joining me for a good sniff is Mr. Barry Penaluna. Barry, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I would say, Malcolm, it is 3 weeks till the Premier League kick-off, which is precisely why I was a little bit surprised when you messaged me the other day to say we're covering Premier League futures, because it feels a little early to me. I struggled a little bit, because I'm not quite there. I'm not quite in the zone for the Premier League just yet. But I've got some picks. But I've no doubt opinions and views will change over the next 3 weeks. And by the time we get to our £1 million show, we might have a few more picks and a bit more of an idea of what's going on.
Well, yeah, there might be a little bit more value in stuff that we've looked at tonight. I thought it was quite a good exercise, really, Baz. I mean, we didn't do a show midweek, because frankly, there was absolutely nothing to talk about unless we pretended we were bothered about the Champions League again or the Olympic stuff. We've been putting Olympic shorts out, which we'll cover in a little while. But I thought it was quite a good exercise for me today in just finding my feet, like finding where I was and what I was thinking in relation to this upcoming season, because I made notes on all the markets. I looked at the outrights. Top half, top four, top six, and you start instinctively. Like today was just an exercise in instinct. Is like, who do I think is going to go well? What's the handicap market sitting at? Who do the bookies think are going to go well, and who do the bookies trying to fade? Stuff like that. So like 2 weeks on Friday, isn't it? So I thought it was quite good to really get my first look at the Premier League and start thinking about it, because there's been a lot going on with the Euros, and then obviously took a little bit of time off, but we've been doing the other stuff. The Olympics has started. Just to tidy up, Baz, our Champions League and Olympic picks from last week. Champions League, I think you did all right. I hit 1 out of 3. Pauk scored 3 times against Bora, Banja, Bukic, whoever it was. And then the next night, a fucking Chelsea against Slovan Bratislava. Both teams to score over 2.5 goals. 1-1 after 12 minutes, Baz. Beautiful. I'm about 1 million to 1 on. Finishes 1-1. Cheers. Thanks for everyone. There was red card after 14 minutes in that game. And I can't remember what else, but I think you did all right. Olympics picks have been going quite well. The outrights going okay. Argentina are back in it after a little shock against Morocco in that absolute madness of a game last Wednesday. Spain's women are doing the business. Zambia were fun today. We spoke, I think we used the very words, agents of chaos, when we talked about Zambia's women. And we name-checked Barbara Banda. Was probably the only female player that we name-checked today. And if you haven't seen the score from this afternoon, Zambia were 5-1 up against Australia. with a Barbara Banda hat-trick, by the way, in the first half an hour, and lost 6-5. So that was brilliant. A little over 10.5 goals. That would have been a classic ladder, Barry, if we could have gone on the goals in the Zambia game. But you gave out the beauty today, the USA ladies, to beat the Germans, and they've stuffed them 4-1. Final whistle went about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I mean, you say I did okay on the Champions League. I mean, if 2 for 2 is just okay, then I'm okay. But, 100% okay. I had Fenerbahce to beat Lugano, and I had, who was playing the Irish side? The people that were playing the Irish side to beat them by more than 2 goals. So we've done all right in the Champions League. And I would be 2 for 2 for my Olympic match picks. But as I told you, on Wednesday, I think it was, I recorded my clip for the America versus Zambia game. And then I forgot to post it, so it never got shared. And that was a good even money pick as well. It was America to score 2 in the first half. They were 3-0 up inside 20 minutes. So I didn't post that one, unfortunately. But I did put America out today. USA women's national team at 5-4 plus 125, 141. So yeah, good. We're doing all right with the Olympic stuff. So we'll keep posting them out daily. I think I said to you, you can stick with the men's game. I'll post the women's game. And who knows, we might even stick out a few bonus Champions League picks. So keep an eye out on the YouTube shorts. Keep giving the thumbs up on those YouTube shorts, and make sure you're subscribing as well if you're new to it.
I did think on Wednesday or Thursday, Baz, we could do Scottish Premier League match day 1 picks next weekend. We'll go through the card if you want. Bear in mind, I'm an athletic expert as well. So we could go down the leagues there. While we're on the subject of the Olympics, Barry, would you like to talk about the Olympics?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the Olympics. I sat through 3 hours of the opening ceremony on Friday. I've had a very quiet weekend, Malcolm. Nothing, no football or anything going on this weekend. So I have watched cycling, hockey, synchronized diving, swimming, rugby sevens, rowing, gymnastics, equestrian, boxing, archery. Oh, some right drama in the archery the day. That was an exciting one. Some mountain biking. I've watched all of it. I love it, me. Can't get enough.
Right, it's shite Baz doing it. That's the problem. I've watched all of it as well.
Sport
because
is what it is.
At one point, the IT department has said to me, "Why are you watching it when you're just slagging it off?" But that's a nice thing to do in itself, isn't it? Just to sit in the corner and be completely and utterly cantankerous and say, "What a waste of everybody's time this is." And that's what I've done as well. I don't mind the endeavour, Barry. I think the people going and doing the thing is fine. I've got no problem with that. I think it's very admirable. It's great to have a hobby. You've got hobbies. I've got hobbies. I go and play a bit of baseball and stuff like that. Getting up and committing yourself to that thing is all fine. But it shouldn't be on the telly. It's boring. It's really boring. It's all boring. And loads of times, Baz, over the last 3 days, I've put something on and thought, I'll watch this. The fencing. Fencing come on yesterday morning. I'll watch this. Within 3 minutes, I wanted to claw my eye, but it was desperate. Bloke says, go. The 2 blokes lunge at each other. One bloke gets a point. The other bloke has a paddy. And that was it. That's fencing. Sorted that out. Beach volleyball come on last night. Now, it was the fellas, which was a disappointment to start with. So me and Bob sat about 10:15 last night. I thought, we'll watch this. After 90 seconds, you couldn't watch anymore. It's just desperately boring. Like, no one would come and watch me play baseball, Barry. No one would come and watch what do you do? Play, like, shuffleboard or whatever. Like, you don't expect a global audience. And the other thing is, Barry, it's the commentators trying to make it sound exciting when it's just not. So there's a bigger rowing race going on. Like, it's going to 2,000 meters. It's going to take 7 minutes. So off they go, 5 boats, off they go. And after about 30 seconds, the New Zealand boat's 2 lengths up. Britain are in second. There's some Estonian fellas back in third, some Romanians. And they're, anything could happen here, Jeff. Right, okay, anything could happen. At halfway stage, the New Zealand's still 2 lengths up. Britain is second. The Estonian fellas are still... we're getting into the last 5. Romania could come from the back here. Britain really have to up their stroke rate. Race finishes, New Zealand win by 2 lengths. Britain is second. The Estonian fellas over. It's shite. Nothing happens, and they're trying to make it exciting, and I'm not buying it, Barry.
Are you finished? Sorry.
I've got another 7 pages if you want.
Started reading something else while you went on about that. I think it's all rubbish. I think there has been some exciting stuff. I agree. There is some boring stuff. Beach volleyball doesn't interest me. Fencing's garbage. I do like the Ruin. What else have
Nothing
I
happens, Barry. They just go along in a line.
Rugby sevens was good. I've enjoyed that. I've had a bit of a thought about sports that definitely shouldn't be there, and the reason why. And I don't know how you can moan about all these sports, because you've just mentioned baseball. That's on the telly. That should be on the telly, because that's fucking shite.
It's not in the Olympics, though. Barry, thousands and thousands of people go to watch baseball every single day.
In 4 years' time, it'll probably be in there, won't it? Yeah. What was I going to say? I was going to say something about something, and then I forgot, so I'm not going to say it anymore. But I've enjoyed it. I don't mind. I've enjoyed some of the events. Yeah, sports that shouldn't be in. I think if the Olympics is not the pinnacle of your sport, then your sport shouldn't be in the Olympics. Does that make sense?
Can't act as gatekeeper, Barry. That's the other thing that winds me up. People like you acting as gatekeeper.
But what's the point? Nobody remembers
the gold
medals in tennis. Tennis, golf, football. Football, they should do what they do in rugby and play a 7-a-side, because then it's a different game. But if it's not, like, players winning the gold medal isn't as big as winning the World Cup or the Euros or the Premier League or anything like that. The rugby do it well. The rugby sevens is really entertaining. I've enjoyed that. Really quick, fast, short game. You can sit down and watch that in 15 minutes and be done. But yeah, I think if the Olympics is not the pinnacle of your sport, then don't bother with it.
All of those sports, I've written them down here. Handball, hockey, water polo, all of those. It's basically just football for people who were rubbish at football, because it's just football, isn't it? No, we're shite at football, so we'll throw it. We're shite at football, so we'll get in the swimming baths. Like, it's just football. But obviously, these people were rubbish at football. It's the same game, but they've had to do something else.
So I'll play baseball.
Don't know, Barry. You're ridiculous. Do you know what I think it might be? And I swore a couple of weeks ago we weren't going to labour this point, Barry, at risk of alienating some of our viewers. I think it might be Tory sport, but it could very well be.
I've got a Tory food update tonight, but I'll save that till the end, Malcolm. It's time to get into football.
Anyway, I have watched about 72 hours non-stop whilst just sitting slagging it and everybody else off. So, who's in the chat tonight? Serial, nice to see you. Serial's lurking. He's looking forward to the Newcastle to finish in the top 4 picks that are going to come up in the next half an hour or so. Andy Williams, Callum. Did Burnley beat Newcastle the other day, Lee? Nobody knows, do they? They played a behind closed doors friendly. And at various points, Newcastle were losing 9-1, winning 4-0. And various other things, so nobody knows. So I'm not giving you that.
Nobody even knows where it was played. I heard one report saying they played at Burnley's training ground, and another one saying they were playing at Newcastle. So,
I saw a video of it being played at Darsley Park. Yeah. So if we don't know where it was, we certainly don't know what the score was. Martin Hallas just joined us as well. Craig, how you doing? Neil Bolden up near the top of the chat. So if you are lurking around and you want to say hello, Brian Mack has joined us as well. And Peter, one at a time. Pete's Picks, how we doing? So yeah, say hello. Right, Premier League, we will get to in a little minute once we've ranted. Look forward to Barry's Tory food scran. The Sports Gambling Podcast did launch their 32 NFL team previews. And as a bonus, each team preview will include a code word. If you submit the 32 code word phrase, you could be the lucky winner who gets a $500 NFL Circa future bet. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and the SGPN app. Underdog Fantasy just launched Underdog Streaks. If you hit your first 2 pick'em entries and then go streaking, you can get an 11-0 run. You'll win 1,000 times your money. That's preposterous. Plus, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. You can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Our promo code is PLGP. That will get you a special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code PLGP. And finally, Odds Jam. is your one-stop shop for beating the sportsbooks. OddsJam uses millions of data points across every US and Canadian sportsbook to show you the best value plays for your money. There's a line shopping tool. There's not just DraftKings and FanDuel. There's loads of other stuff. Bet online, Bovada, Cut, plenty. There's an arbitrage tool. There's a fantasy tool. You get the highest EV plays on all of those things. You can get a 7-day free trial on OddsJam by using the link. Don't forget to enter the promo code SGPN to get 35% off the first month. Oddsjam.com, promo code SGPN. So, Premier League-wise, I think I've looked through a shit ton of markets. Now, there's going to be a load of stuff that kind of catches your eye. We were just talking about this, Baz, before we started, that you might not necessarily want to bet, because if you fancy Man City, I'll not be betting Man City at 5 to 6 or whatever they are, because, well, I'm not going to tie up 20 quid to win 38 in 9 months' time or whatever. So you're looking for a bit of value. But if there are some picks that I've found at relatively short prices, 2 to 1 or under, we're going to put them out anyway, Barry, because there might be some people looking to lump on various things, or there might be some people who want to bet and then have us either confirm or otherwise that we think it's a good bet. So really, I'm going through the markets, things that stand out, highlighting some prices. And like I said, it was a good grounder in terms of me learning where I am 3 weeks out and how I feel about various things going into the season. So we'll start with the outright market, Baz. Manchester City are odds against for the first time in ages, I would suggest. 11 to 10 plus 110. Arsenal 15 to 8 plus 187. And it looks like a 2-horse race, but then Liverpool at 7s, Chelsea 20s, Man United 22, Newcastle 28, Tottenham 33, Villa 50. Any price you like, the rest. I mean, for me, Baz, I won't be. Well, I mean, we're going to make our lucky 15s or our round robin sort of picks in a couple of weeks. We're going to have a special show where we'll build all of these. So this is really where that's most applicable to, because it is a 2-horse race. The key is, do you think Arsenal can step up again to be able to catch Manchester City? And for me, Barry, the answer is no. I think it's hard for them to go again. I think they kind of reached their ceiling 2 years in a row, and they've had a really good chance. Both seasons where the league's been a little bit weaker, I think it's going to be more competitive as well. There's going to be teams cutting each other's throat, which I think makes it harder for Arsenal. So I don't really want anything to do with Arsenal at that point, which only really leaves City. Question marks about everybody else. I think the gap's far too far to bridge. But Arsenal really are the kingmakers here, Baz. Have you got any strong feelings, or do you fancy one of the bigger price ones?
No, so like you, I think it's hard to look past the top 2 in the market. I'd just be surprised if the departure of Klopp isn't followed by some sort of drop-off for Liverpool. And even if there isn't, they finished 9 points behind. So can you see 9 points worth of improvement out of Liverpool without Klopp? And I just don't see that happening. So then the question, as you said, is can Arsenal go better than last season? Just 2 points behind last season. They have increased their points tally 4 years in a row now. But I do think the same as you. I think they peaked. The 89 points last year was their highest points total in 20 years. And I think 90 has to be the target. If you're going to try and give yourself a chance to beat City, you need 90 points. But I'm just not sure where the improvement's going to come from. I think they did everything they could do last year.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure there is that room for improvement. I've seen them linked with Calafiori from Bologna. But
he's been just about done tonight, Baz. I just, the 9 o'clock news, so like an hour ago, had Calafiori getting on an aeroplane and just about signed, sealed and delivered. Purportedly quite a good signing. The only thing that concerns me, they reckon he's quite versatile, that he can play left back, left centre back, and left and hold in mid. Well, to me, if you've got 3 positions, you've got no positions. Like, do you know what I mean? You're not outstanding somewhere. But that might be a little bit. He might be fucking excellent. Who knows?
Could be. I didn't see it as a sign that's going to move the dial at all, because defensively they were the best team in the league last year anyway. So not sure what that does. I mean, you think at the end of last season there was talk about Ivan Toney could end up at Arsenal. There was talk about Isak going there. and all of that seems to have gone very quiet. And I think a signing of that ilk might have sort of changed things a little bit. The other option, of course, is City could go backwards. Kevin De Bruyne's getting a year older, seemingly a bit more vulnerable to injuries these days. But it does seem like he's going to be staying put. He was linked with a move to Saudi. It seems like he'll stay. There are question marks around Edison possibly moving away, and I think that would be a tough one to replace if he does go. But otherwise, I just don't see there being loads of regression from City. They didn't start off particularly well last year. They'll freshen things up a little bit. They've signed Savinho from Brazil, a Brazilian winger from Troyes, I think. But ultimately, you cut into the odds, and I think Man City and Arsenal in the betting are just too close. You're getting 11-10 for City or 15-8 Arsenal. I'll take the team that's won 6 of the last 7 over the team that haven't won the league in 20 years. So I think 11-10 is a really, really good price for City. I think it's a fair price. And they've shown over the years, it doesn't even matter if they fall behind early on. They've just got that habit now of breaking teams on the run-in. And I don't think... I do think it'll be, I think it'll be Arsenal who will be the ones to push them. But actually, if I was going to take a punt against Man City, I would potentially see Liverpool at 7-1 or slightly better value than the 15-8 for Arsenal. I'm not interested in either. I think Man City will win the league at 11-10. And it's an okay price.
The point that I really like there, Barry, was that Arsenal have improved on their points 4 years in a row. I think that's really, really hard to do again. I think that's really, really hard to do again. And you're right, they finished on 89 last year, and they've got to get to 90. So, I will put Manchester City in my lucky 15 or whatever, probably in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, that's about as far as it goes. Certainly won't be lumping on any outrights. A market where there's a bit more value, Baz, is the top 4 market. So obviously Manchester City and Arsenal are really short, 1-10 and 1-5. You get Liverpool at 1-2, minus 200. And then you could throw a blanket over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams who, according to the books, are going for 1 spot. I think they might be going for 2 spots if Liverpool will drop off just a little bit, which is Chelsea at 11-8, plus 137. Man United, Newcastle and Tottenham, all at 2-1. In Aston Villa, it's 3-1. So out of them, Baz, 2-1 and 3-1 is not a bad price. Working man's price will go in a knacker. Top 4 finish for any of them?
Sorry, Mal, I missed most of that because I had to go and stop a noise happening in the utility room. I don't have any picks in the top 4 market. I left it alone.
No.
So I didn't really see anything that jumped out at me. Where did you say you've gone?
Well, I haven't yet. I was letting you go first.
Well, I told you. I haven't. I told you before the show. I didn't have a pick in this market. So no. At this point, nothing jumped out at me. I think you made the point there that Liverpool might drop off enough to make it a 2-horse race or sort of fighting over 2 spots. But it's just so wide open, isn't it? As you said, you can throw a blanket over them. You're getting 2-1 everyone. So it's then take a pick, take a stat in it, and it's difficult. I didn't fancy anyone. Serial's waiting for us both to put out Newcastle for a top 4, but I'm not quite there yet.
Well, I made me little league table, Baz, so I do know who's going to finish in what places. And the 2 to choose from here are Chelsea and Newcastle. Chelsea at 11-8, or Newcastle 2-1. So I think if you're a Chelsea fan, you want to be taking Chelsea. I think if you're a Newcastle fan, you want to be taking Newcastle at 2-1. To me, they're the clear 4th or 5th. I've got a big gap from them back to Tottenham and Villa down in 6th and 7th. Chelsea and Newcastle have a big gap. Newcastle have got 38 games to play, plus the League Cup and the FA Cup. No Europe whatsoever. Last year, they finished 7th last year, and I think with normal luck, they easily would have finished sort of 6th or 5th. The Champions League took a big hit. We're expecting Villa to maybe suffer a little bit from that this season. Tottenham, I can't see moving. So to me, it does look like between Chelsea and Newcastle. But I think really that's just a case of you can only pick one. So whichever one you prefer. They're both decent prices if you wanted to put them in some sort of like but I've got them both well clear of sixth place. Equally, either could finish third. We don't know what Liverpool are going to do. We just don't know what Liverpool are going to do. So top four would be Chelsea or Newcastle. Top six, Barry, anything caught your eye there?
No. Again,
you got nothing.
I looked at a few of these markets and there was just nothing. I said to you, there's a lot of them where you look and someone might stand out here, but if you're getting a 4 to 5 or an 8 to 11, it's just not something I'm going to get involved in. I take your point. You can still make those selections, but it's such a lottery at that point. Like we've seen last year, it'll come down to it where you'll have Man United, Spurs, Villa, potentially Newcastle all fighting out for those last places. And it's hard to really want to back either of them at very close to even money.
Well, you want a Man United, but I take your point, but there's not an awful lot of value in this top six market. It's those teams you just mentioned. Man U, on the books, it's Man U, Newcastle, Tottenham, Villa, all close. Villa at 11 to 8 stands out an absolute mile, plus 137. The issue with Villa is the Champions League, like we just mentioned. But Newcastle, using Newcastle as a comparison, Newcastle finished 7th last year with absolutely horrendous fortune on the injuries. So if Villa have anywhere near normal luck, you're talking one place. I think you could have added 10 points on to Newcastle last year. I think it's a decent comparison. So Villa to finish in the top 6, I think it's an outstanding pick. I don't think they're going to regress in terms of form or how they're set up. Personnel, they've been very busy in the transfer market. The whole club's heading in the right direction, pulling together. I think Newcastle's a good comparison. So if the Champions League doesn't completely wipe them out, then I think top 6, 11 to 8. It's one of the best value prices, I think, on the board here, Baz.
Well, yeah, I've got...
we're going to move...
Sorry. While you're there, because I've got a market that I did pick out that is quite closely linked to that one. And it's one I found on Sky Bet, and I liked it. It's a winner without the big 7. Do you like that? So I just went for this market because...
You established who the big 7 is first.
I find it quite amusing that they've shoehorned Newcastle now into a big 7.
Okay.
In addition to the traditional big 6. Despite the fact Man United finished down in 7th. Well behind Villa. So yeah, Villa didn't make it into the big 7 despite finishing 4th last season, and Newcastle did. But yeah, Sky Bet winner without the big 7. So take Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Spurs, Man United, Chelsea, and Newcastle out of the equation. Who's going to win? It's got to be Villa, doesn't it? Even money
Wow.
to Villa to finish. For nobody other than those 7 to finish above Villa. I just think it's a great price. It's available on Sky Bet here. Whether you can get it elsewhere, I'm not sure. But who else is finishing above Villa? Brighton, Palace, West Ham. I just don't see it. So I think even money. Yeah, I mean, you're 11 to 8. You're pushing for an extra place. But yeah, I can drop down as low as 8th. Villa could finish 8th and still cash that bet at even money. Yeah, I love that one. Villa without the big 7 at even money.
Nice little arse sniffer, that one, Baz. We're going to move on to the top half, bottom half relegation, stuff like that. Once I've told you about Rhythm. If you're not checking out the AI picks and props from Rhythm, you're missing out. They've just predicted a bunch of winners for the 3M Open in the golf. The football models are about to drop. You can even customize your own betting models easily using Rhythm's tools. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. So, taking in some of the other teams then that we haven't mentioned yet, sort of around this market is to finish in the top half. So you're looking at odds-wise, let's have a look. Sort of starts with the 8 you just mentioned, Barry. The top 8 are all far too prohibitive. So the market really revolves around those teams like Brighton at 4 to 6, minus 150. West Ham 5 to 4. Palace and Bournemouth 11 to 8, 13 to 8. Fulham 7 to 2. Then Brentford, Wolves, and Everton are all in there at 4 to 1. So to me, my first note says the top 8 settled, which is pretty much what you've just spelled out with a nailed-on even money winner. The top 8 settled. So you're looking at 9th or 10th. You've got 2 spots up for grabs and a top half finish. I've got Brighton finishing 9th. I just think they're going to be slightly less stupid than they were last season. So they've still got some good players. They've got some very good attacking players. They can defend in fits and starts, and they're just going to be less mental. They're not going to be trying to complete challenges. Do you remember what Bob said about them when they played up in Newcastle in the last month of the season? And that leaves us one spot, Barry. I've got Palace in 10th, potentially. But I think they're losing some of the best players. And I think the price is at an all-time high in all markets because of the last 6 weeks of the season, completely inflated everything they've done. Unfortunately, I think in these markets, you're looking for someone whose peak is going to come in the next 6 weeks, in the first 6 weeks of the season, not what just happened. The 2 teams that finished really well were Palace and Bournemouth. So if you wanted to back them for anything, all the value's gone. The team that stands out for me, I've got finishing 11th, and they're 4-1 to finish in the top half, which makes them value. I'm happy to back them. Is Wolves, Barry. They finished 14th last year on 46 points. They were only 3 points off 10th. And we know they got fucking sawn off by the VAR every other week. So I think they can build on that. 3 points, it's not a big gap, Barry. It's one decent performance, or it's one little bit of good luck. It's one good decision. 4-1 for Wolves to finish in the top half is a price I would consider, Baz.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I agree that the top 8's done. And then you look at the next 3 in the market, and they're all sitting there at 6-5, 5-4. And it would be hard to make a case for either, and that you'd really want to get stuck into them for a top half. The problem, I didn't find any value in the market because I don't think 4-1's a particularly good price for Wolves. When you consider the sixth favourites to be relegated, they're a shorter price to be relegated than they are to finish top half. I just think the books are very stingy in these top half, bottom half markets. They give nothing away. Sort of bullet to my head, I'd probably have gone Bournemouth was what I was thinking. At a slightly bigger price than the West Ham and Palace prices, 13-8. Would I back it? Absolutely not. So yeah, I just don't think the bookies are giving anything away. Like,
I think Bournemouth have absolutely topped out. Like, they came, I think we said after October when they got their act together, their record from then was the 4th best in the league or something. But I think that's their ceiling. They've hit it. So yeah, we'll find out. Bottom half, nothing stood out at all. Couldn't find any value. If I was a millionaire, I would lump in West Ham at 4-6. The other one, because they're absolutely shite, is Man United at 8-1, Barry. Bottom half finish.
Yeah, so the bottom half, the one before I looked at the prices that I would have went for, thinking of teams who are expected to be in and around that halfway point, was West Ham. Again, like you've mentioned, they're a bit short at 4-6, but I think West Ham to finish bottom half is one that would definitely stand out to me. Man United will sneak 9th.
Yeah. So going the other end of the table, then relegation. The thing that's fucked up all these markets is the pending points deduction for Leicester City. Because I kept forgetting about it. I kept thinking, "Ooh, I found something value here," and then remembering that you haven't. I don't know. I mean, do you know? Is that a definite going to happen? What do you think? Do you know what the SP is on that at all?
I looked this up today as part of looking at the relegation odds, and it seems to be a very strong view that they will get a deduction because the Premier League wanted them to get the deduction last year. I think Leicester appealed that, and it was agreed that the Premier League couldn't enforce a points deduction in the EFL. So it didn't happen. So I think it's almost certain they'll get points deduction. And apparently the sort of scale of how much they missed the financial fair play limit by was quite high. So there was talk of potentially it being bigger than anything that's been given out yet to Forest and Everton. I'm budgeting on the fact Leicester will lose at least 8 points. Whether that turns out to be the case or not, I don't know. But I think it makes them toast, really, if that's the case.
Yeah, I've got one Leicester City fan that I know on Twitter. So I was going to shoot him a DM and ask him about it. And the last time I spoke to him was about 3 years ago. I can't remember what about. He's a baseball kid. And the last conversation we had was I'd sent him a photograph of Bob getting an autograph from the Leicester City players after a League Cup game at Newcastle. Leicester knocked us out. This is in the proper Steve Bruce shit days. Bob made me wait till about 5 to 11 at night. And Bob's getting an autograph of one Harvey Barnes for Leicester City, which is a bit weird. So Bob's got an autograph programme upstairs from the now Newcastle United winger Harvey Barnes. Funny how things turn out. The question here, Baz, is can all three promoted teams get relegated again? Because it happened last year, fairly bloodlessly. No one really put up a fight. Burnley showed a little bit of something far too late. Sheffield United didn't try. And Luton had a little kick and stream around Christmas, January time. But at no point really was there with those three not going down. The three teams that have come up fairly similar comps, Baz, in terms of sort of the style and the managers. You had Vincent Kompany, who obviously gone on to get a great job. He was progressive. Burnley with a great white hope last year, weren't they? They're the ones, I think I had them finishing 11th or something stupid. And then it was the good-looking bloke at Luton, Rob something. What's his name? Rob Edwards, yeah. Again, young manager. And you look at Russell Martin and you look at Kieran McHenry at Ipswich, they kind of fit the same profile. They haven't got promoted. These haven't got promoted with Sam Allardyce and Steve Bruce and people like that. But the bookies really prefer Southampton out of these three teams to stay up at the shortest price, the biggest price, sorry, to stay up. But they came through the playoffs. It's a little bit weird because obviously they are notionally the third best team of those who came up, but the Leicester points deduction knackers it all. I think Southampton get relegated. So the prices here are Leicester a -250, Ipswich 8 to 11, so around about -142, and then you've got Southampton at 11 to 8, Forest at 2 to 1, Everton 13 to 8, out to Wolves at 7 to 2. I think Southampton at 11 to 8 plus 137. They did come up through the playoffs. I don't see enough difference between them and Ipswich to not want to back them. If you're going to put together a little accumulator, I think Southampton get relegated at that price would be a good piece in there. The other one I was dying to pick was Everton, Baz, but I'm taking a different system this time. I'm just going to leave them alone and hope they get relegated, because tipping them up to get relegated and talking about it hasn't worked. So we need to change the system. So we'll just pretend we'll ignore them, Baz, and hopefully come next April they'll be in 19th or something like that. So yeah, that's my relegation pick.
Yes, I think you've covered a lot of what I was going to say. But Leicester, obviously, the shortest price of the three because of the potential deduction. And if it happens, I think it's hard to make a case for them staying up. The other thing with Leicester is they have lost Maresca, their manager, and they've lost Keenan Dewsbury-Hall, who was a key player for them last season as well.
Where did he go?
Can't remember.
Villa, Forest, Chelsea.
I think it might be Chelsea, wasn't it? No, he was at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Where's he
Man
gone
United?
now?
No.
Team.
West Ham.
Yeah, Chelsea. No, he's Chelsea. Chelsea. There you go.
Chelsea, did he?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, that's
Chelsea,
just what they needed, really.
Chelsea will buy anyone, so he's followed Maresca. So yeah, definitely not making a case for Leicester staying up. Can you make a case for either two? I think I would give Ipswich the best shot at staying up. But like you've mentioned, I was similarly confident on Burnley last year. I thought they'd be the one that would possibly do it. And I'm not sure I'd be brave enough to back Ipswich this season because of that. But Ipswich have shown a bit of ambition early on in the transfer market. They've spent 60 million so far. But I've went the same way as you, Southampton. The bookies' favourite of the three to survive. And therefore that made them a live option as the sort of best value, because they were fourth in the league last season. They've had to come through the playoffs. They weren't even the third best side in the championship. Finished fourth. And we've seen last year it's a big ask for teams to come up and compete, even more so now with the financial restrictions. So I think 11-8 Southampton to be relegated does appeal as well. So I'd go Leicester, I'd go Southampton. And then third one, it's to be confirmed for me. I need to see what further business gets done from the likes of Everton, Brentford, maybe even Forest. I do worry for Everton again. I agree with your point of just leaving it alone.
Don't say it, Baz, forget it.
I'm not, but you can't see them circling the drain again. There's still no sign of a takeover. Debts are building. The latest interested party in that takeover looked at the financials and said, "I'm not touching that with a barge pole." So debts are building. They could end up getting hit again. I assume they're probably safe from a points deduction by virtue of the fact they sold Onana for 40-odd million to Villa. But that's a big loss for them in itself. And I'd be surprised if they've got the funds to go and replace him. They'll be on a tight budget. But at this point, not prepared to nail my colours to the mast in terms of backing Everton to go down. But I'll stick with Southampton like you. Team ride.
Dave Ferran's duffel coat, issue 17, £1.40, told me all about that consortium being in for Everton and then pulling out for Everton and exactly the reasons why. But I wasn't really listening because it was all a bit much for me. So there is quite a reason behind it. But if I was listening, I could have told you what it was. Next up, here we go, Barry. Oh, actually, not fucking here we go. Not the favourite market. Hide that banner. To finish dead bottom, Baz, I want to stick with Southampton because it's 7-1. That caught my eye a lot. I just think they're far too big because Leicester are short, but Leicester were better than Southampton. They were considerably better than them. So even if they get 4-point deduction or whatever, 6 points. He's backing Southampton. It's 7-1. A reasonable bet fit. Or backing Leicester to be 6 points better than Southampton. It's 7-1. I think that's fair enough. It's worth a punt. In Ipswich, they're far too short. So Southampton, it's 7-1. Caught my eye to finish dead last. In that one.
I'll take. I'll throw my pick out for that one, Malcolm. I will go for Manchester City to finish dead last at 33-1. In the hope
Barry.
that there's an expedited process. I say expedited. It's only taken 3 years to get this far, or 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been. But 33-1, if they get walloped with a massive points deduction, that 33-1 could look nice. So yeah, I'll have a little punt on Man City as an outsider to finish bottom of the Premier League this year. Having already just tipped them to win the Premier League at 11-10, by the way.
Yeah, so 2 picks from Baz. If you want to take away Man City to win the league and Man City to finish bottom. What's the double on that paper? Baz? That'd be a good bet. Didn't expect to hear the word expedited tonight, Barry. Very good. It's a Tory word. So I think, as you all know, I'm quite the expert in the handicap market. Probably England's or Great Britain's premier handicapper. On this market. So if you don't know what this is, everyone gets a head start. So Manchester City start on 0, all the way down to Leicester City, who start on 51, and everyone's 16-1. So take your pay your money, work it out. So I worked it out, Barry, like a mathematician today. I've got 2 charts. Look at that. That's all. That's the workings out of an absolute madman. On the handicap market. And the reason I say I'm an expert is because I obviously nailed Villa last year and I went on about it at great length before the season. I ended up with 30 or 40 quid on. It was about 37 quid or something stupid. 14-1 Sky Bet paid on Villa last year. It was a bit of a swindle. So I had a nice little touch. So I was quite looking forward to this market because I was confident. It's one of those where you've done it before, you think this is going to be easy. And then, Barry, it wasn't easy because there was no obvious error. Villa last year got a 31-point head start. To me, that was an obvious rick, and I liked it, and it worked. But I don't see one here at all. Someone in the chat earlier on said they like Villa again. Villa are getting 24 points this time, and I just think that tightens it up. It's 7 points fewer than they got, and we do think they're going to be slightly worse off. So I wasn't in on Villa again. I worked it all out very scientifically, Barry, and the answers are so we've got to get to 91 points here, which is a stretch. The teams you could take out are the teams I talked about with the ceiling. I think you could easily put a line through Palace and Bournemouth. You will not be surprised to hear I've got Man United finishing bottom of this handicap on 78 points. We're all supposed to finish on 91. They're miles off it. They're finishing on 78. I've got Southampton on 80, Brentford on 81, West Ham on 81. So these are all the teams that you don't like. This is a really good exercise if you want to know what you're thinking about teams, but all the way up to on 91 points, obviously Manchester City. I had nobody overtake them, Baz. So Man City, my first pick. Man City, Newcastle United finish also on 91 points. And Wolves finish on 90 points. Wolves last year picked up how many points? 46. And like I say, I think they had absolutely awful luck. They get the 48-point head start here. So I think they can get to 90 pretty easily. So yeah, they're my three picks in this handicap market. But Man City, Newcastle, and Wolves. I'll maybe try and narrow it down as we get to the start of the season. Serial's laughing at Newcastle with 91 points. That's 91 points with the how many are we getting? 19 added on Serial. So we're going to get 72 plus the 19 equals 91. That's how Wolves get there as well. Baz?
You know I've got no interest in this market. It drives me mad. You sitting and doing all of that work.
This is surely science,
because all season long, you've got to look at, like, you can't just look and say, oh, my team's on this. Because you've got to look at every 20 teams handicap all season long. I can't.
Just leave it.
I wouldn't mind if it was like a live table somewhere that updated with your handicaps on. But it's far too much. You
don't need to look at it, Barry, surely.
I
looked at it in about the middle of March.
I'll throw a dart at one of those teams and I'll give you my pick next week. But you can specialise in your handicap pick. I hate that market. Absolutely hate it.
And, well, I mean, we said we don't want to give out 4 to 5 and 8 to 11 shots. 16 to 1 the field here, Baz. This is where you earn your money. It's what people follow us for. Michael has just joined. Michael's asking who you think will get relegated. You've missed all that, Michael, I'm afraid. If you watch back about 20 minutes before right now, I'll tell you who's going to get relegated. So there you go. Top scorer, Barry. The Golden Boot. Let's have a look. I didn't write these down. Competitions. I'll shout these out in order. In Premier League. This is good, isn't it? Outrights.
Do you want me to read them out for you?
Have you got them, you dick?
Top goal scorer.
Yeah.
We've got Erling Haaland, 4 to 6, minus 150. Salah is next up at 10 to 1. Isak and Nunes. Nunes. That's funny. 16 to 1. Ollie Watkins also 16 to 1. Cole Palmer, Ivan Toney both at 20 to 1. And then you've got Saka, Solanke, Heung-min Son, Havertz, Nicholas Jackson, 33 to 1. Foden's 33 to 1. Nobody's interested in anyone beyond that, are they?
Yeah, I am, Baz. I've got some. You made any picks?
Oh, aye. I think,
go on, then.
I mean, the starting point for me is, last year I went with Haaland. We doubled them up. I think we've both done the same. We doubled up Haaland and Man City winning the league to get it to a reasonable price. But at 4 to 6, I think I can go somewhere else this time round. I'm not interested in Haaland at 4 to 6 because of what I sort of saw from City at the end of the season, where it was more attritional stuff. There wasn't the massive score lines and banging in 4s and 5s against everyone. So maybe it's a bit of a change for City. So Haaland will still get 20 odd goals. 27 last year, 5 ahead of the rest of the field. So you've got to then look who can come out of the pack and find another 5 or 6 goals they think they need to get there. And I think I've got the answer. And it's not Cole Palmer, who came runner-up last season. I've stuck a line through him because he got 22 goals. Brilliant, great season. I'm sure he'll have another good season this year. But 9 of them were from the penalty spot. And I don't think that's sustainable. 9 penalties for a team is a lot. They were the most sort of penalties won for any team in the Premier League last year. He scored 9 out of 9. Great. He might miss one this year, and they might only get 6 penalties this year, and then he's looking at dropping down from 9 goals to 5 from the penalty spot. So I've ruled out Palmer. But Isak, I think, has got room to improve. And it might, Newcastle fans, so people will think, go my head. But there's good reasoning behind it. Newcastle are expected to go better. If you look at the books, they expect Newcastle to go better. And Isak last year shared a lot of time with Wilson earlier in the season. They were rotating quite a bit. That's not going to be the case. Wilson's made of glass now. Wilson might not even be here if he can get fit and before the window shuts. I'd be surprised if Wilson stays. Isak played less minutes last season than anyone else in the top 10 scorers. And by a considerable margin in some cases, he played 2,255 minutes. If you look at the likes of Ollie Watkins and Solanke, they played nearly 1,000 more minutes. That's like 11 games more than Wilson. So I think there's room there for Wilson. Sorry, not Wilson, then Isak. I think there's room there for him to get at least another 500, 600 minutes of football this season. And that could be the 5 goals he needs to make up the difference on Haaland. And if you look at the markets, the stats for this, I looked at the goals per 90 because Isak doesn't play 90 minutes every week, and he didn't start. He only started 27 games last season. His goals per 90 is comfortably the second in the league last season, behind Haaland. But goals per 90, he's not going to a goal every 0.85 or something like that. Or 0.85 every game. So 16-1 for Isak, I think, is a good price as an outright pick because I think he can make up that difference. But you can also get a quarter of the odds, top 4 each way. And there's Isak, top 4 scorers, and you're getting 4-1 for that. I think it's a really, really good bet. So for me, Isak in the top scorer market stands out. I think he's got the most room for improvement purely based on his game time last year compared to what we're expecting this year.
Absolutely smashed that, Barry. I think as gamblers, we've sat and looked through a whole host of different shit, and we've come up with the exact same pick for the exact same reasons. The main thing that makes this for me, Barry, is that each way, quarter of the odds, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're getting 4-1 about him finishing top 4. I don't need to elaborate on those stats. When I went to Burnley and Bob came home with the football, Alexander Isak scored that day, and he was 1 behind Erling Haaland. It was the middle of fucking April when we got in the car to drive home. We then listened to Wolves Man City on the drive back, and Haaland scored 4 times and completely and utterly put it to bed. But in the middle of April, he was 1 behind. We've got no Europe. We've got no timeshare. The each way value, quarter of the odds, 1, 2, 3, 4, is absolutely outstanding. One of the picks of the card. The other one, I did find you said who's interested in things at a bigger price. I've got an 80-1 shot here, Barry. Again, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. Diogo Jota at Liverpool is 80-1. Someone who had plenty of injuries. Now, we know Liverpool can score goals. I don't think they're going to be hugely different under Slot. We don't know what Salah's going to do. But I think if Jota's fit, he's going to get his fair share of game time, isn't he? I don't know. Don't see why not. But I was just looking at the names around him. The names around him have got absolutely no chance. You couldn't make a case at any point for Raheem Sterling at 80-1. You couldn't make a fucking case for Morgan Rogers. I don't know who Morgan Rogers is. He's the same price as Diogo Jota at 80-1. That's a madness. That absolutely jumped off the page. Am I missing something there, or does that sound plausible?
No, it's fine. I'll tell you what I'll throw out as a rogue one is Nkunku for Chelsea. Because this time last year, I reckon he'd have probably got Nkunku at something like 16s or 18s because he was expected to be their main man for goals. And obviously injuries scuppered that. But I've heard Maresca talking him up, saying he's had a great pre-season, he's firing, he's fresh, he's ready to go. If he gets off to a good start and can cement himself in that forward line for Chelsea, and Nkunku with 50s could be a little bit of value if we're looking for a big price. So I'm going to chuck that one out as well.
Okay, I think we're just about done. I have got, I've got 5 picks to throw out here, Baz. Now, these are ones that just instinctively caught my eye in the specials markets. None of them are very fancy prices. I don't think you're going to get rich, but if you are sitting here with $1 million, couldn't in your back pocket, 5 that caught my eye were Villa to finish higher than Man United is 5-4. Palace to finish above West Ham is even money. Fulham to finish above Brentford or Everton is 5-6. Either or, not both. Ipswich to finish above Southampton. You've just covered that, Baz. 6-4 plus 150. And something that's a little bit of value, you could back this as a single, is Wolves to finish above Bournemouth. Was 13-8 plus 167. And I think, Barry, that is everything I have got. It's about $1 million bets I'm giving out. Anything for you?
I've got one other little market. And it's the sack race. You know, I love the sack race. And
Baz loves the sack race.
Next manager to go. The problem with this one is the Eddie Howe thing. I think you've really got to wait and see what happens with Eddie Howe, because I don't know. He's obviously not going to get sacked. But if he leaves, you need to check the market. Are you betting on the next manager to leave their club? In which case, that Eddie Howe thing throws a little spanner in the works. But if it's the next manager to be sacked, Erik ten Hag, 14-1. Don't give a damn about any 1-year contract extension. That was a load of garbage. They wanted rid of him. Before that FA Cup final, they wanted rid of him. And if they get off to a bad start, they'll get rid of him. That 1-year contract extension won't make a difference to it. So Ten Hag, 14-1 to be the first manager sacked, appeals. And the other one in the same market is Maresca at 16-1. That's what are Chelsea good at doing if things don't go well? Just sack a man, won't they? I mean, they finished the season very strongly and still sack the manager. So Maresca at 16-1 as well. They're the two that stand out. There's a bit of value in that sack market. I'd probably wait and see who gets the England job first before I dive in, though.
Okay, Baz, like that. I didn't get across to that market. I was only 365, didn't have any of that stuff. So we're about 3 minutes short of the hour, Barry. Picks made, but I think everyone's waiting for the Tory Scran update, Baz, before we let them go. Come on, what have you been doing? Chile, I've made some. You go. Do you want to go? I'll tell you. We'll build up yours. This is. I don't know if this counts as Tory Scran or not. I think it's Michael who likes the Tory Scran. I made some chicken thighs, Baz, on Friday. Pulled pork style, but with chicken thighs. So the same pretty much thing. Really nice. However, I took the skin off the thighs separately, put them on a baking tray with far too much salt and a load of herbs, got them all crispy as fuck. And then I blended them up, Baz. Put them in the hand blender. Here we go. Look at Barry's face. Here we go. Now he's interested. This is the first thing he's been interested in 59 minutes. Blended up. So it was 8 thighs I had, Baz. So 8 chicken skins, all salty, herby, crunchy deliciousness. Blended them up. And then when I had my pulled thighs and stuff, just sprinkled that on the top with a few spring onions. But that looked, mate, it was like an angel crying on your tongue. It was really good. I recommend.
Keep talking. I absolutely love chicken skin. I once worked with someone who had the business idea of selling chicken skin in packets just as a snack. And I thought it was a great idea. You can do anything you want flavour-wise with chicken skin. But I like that. I'm going to try that next time.
Yes, do it.
Tory Scran update. I had Wednesday night through the week. I get home. I get a craving. I want something nice homemade, proper hearty scran is what I'm fancying. So I'm thinking like a nice mince and dumplings, or a roast dinner, or a nice pie or something like that. But homemade. It's got to be homemade. This is what I want. It's what I fancy. So I tell Helen, thinking she'd say, "All right, I'll go to the shop. I'll get the stuff. I'll make us this or whatever." But she didn't do that. She was enthused by the idea, but didn't like the idea of cooking it. So she had no interest. She wasn't bothered about that. So she suggested, why don't we just go to the pub? And that wasn't what I want. I don't want the pub. I want some homemade. This is what I want. It's homemade scran. It's not pub scran. It's not somebody else cooking it. So anyway, by this point, she mentions pub. Kids go, "Oh, we're going to the pub." So the kids would not be swayed at that point. They're going to the pub regardless, going for a carvery or something like that. And I didn't want that, Malcolm. This wasn't what I wanted. So
Listen, pub grub, I would say, fits into what you're after. Though you're
it
saying
does,
you want
but
a
it's
nice pie or
not.
something.
But it's not my, like, if I make it homemade, I'll make it top notch. Like, I know what I want, and I want that.
You shouldn't have tried to send your lass to the shop. Then you should have gone yourself.
And well, that was the problem. So anyway, what I did do is I sent the three of them to the pub, and I stayed at home and made my own 3-course meal. just
You
just
sent
out
them
of,
to the boozer.
just
Whoa,
out of-
man, that's an
out of pure
outrage.
stubbornness. Because the kids weren't going to be persuaded at this point. They were going to the pub. So I said, look, you just go to the pub and I'll cook my own dinner. It's fine. And Helen's like, oh, no, because then it'll be more. I was like, I won't. I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So before they could go to the pub, I had to take the car, go to the shop, get all the ingredients. And I knocked up a nice 3-course meal, got a lovely bottle of red.
All right, come on then. What's on the menu, Barry?
I went for the pie. I did start off with a bit of pate, with a bit of caramelized onion chutney and a bit of toasted bread. Toasted
Make
salad.
the patty.
No. The pate, the starter and the dessert was shop board. I didn't have time. It was
Right,
a 2-hour
okay.
mission to make me main course. I was really after the pie. Now the pie, oh hey, honestly, absolutely heaven. Brisket, ale, and Stilton pie,
Oh.
homemade. Got a pressure cooker so I could do the brisket in the pressure cooker. 2 hours or so, half an hour and a half maybe. Nice pull apart brisket, onions, bottle of stout. Have you ever crumbled half a block of Stilton into a pie or a stew before? If you haven't,
I'll be honest, Baz, I have, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, amazing. So brisket, ale, and Stilton pie. Some black pudding mash just to take it up a notch. Fried the black pudding off till you get a bit of crisp in it. Stir that through your mash. Little bit of whole grain mustard in there as well. Oh, it was absolute heaven. Mushy peas, honey roasted carrots, and Bob's your uncle. I absolutely loved it. Cabernet Sauvignon to wash it down, and a bit of lemon cheesecake to finish off. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was only just tucking into it when they got back from the pub. They were happy. They had their carvery. They had a lovely bit of food. 2 of them had a carvery. Sophie had a curry. She'll eat curry anywhere she goes. And I sat happy as Larry with a lovely pie. And Helen ate the other half of the pie the next day. She absolutely loved it as well. So everyone was happy in the end. There was no drama. But it was one of them where I knew what I wanted. I was determined I was getting it. And little stubborn me, rather than go to the pub for the easy option, I was like, no, I've told you what I want and I'm going to do it. So I went and done it.
I've got one follow-up question to that, Baz. How's the diet going?
Got a glass of wine in my hand at the moment. It's been a tough couple of weeks on the diet.
Been a tough couple of weeks,
I do intend to be back on it tomorrow. I'll be back on the plan. I'm no drinking for a couple of weeks for me.
Brilliant. I enjoyed that, Baz. Let's cook more things this week. We'll get involved. Right. We're going to come back on Wednesday or Thursday and talk about something. We haven't decided what, but we will do it. That was fun. I enjoyed that a lot. And like I say, it has got me appetite whetted for the Premier League. Not too long till we'll be making actual picks. Everyone in the chat was buzzing. I enjoyed that. I've laughed a lot in the last hour. Enjoy the rest of the Olympics, Barry. I'm sure you will. And I think that's it. If you don't follow us on YouTube, go and do that, and then get your lads and your kids and all that sort of shit, because we need some help to do it. And I think that's it.
Yeah, and on that subject, Spotify, we've been stuck on 114 Spotify reviews for about 6 months. So yeah, if you are listening, on Spotify, it's probably because I haven't nagged you for a while that you haven't done it. And if you have, give us a review on Spotify like a year ago. You can do it again. And Apple in particular, because the bosses see the Apple review. So 5-star reviews only, obviously. But get your reviews in. Cheers.
Well, we better go because Andy's just pointed out that the women's street skateboarding's on BBC One, Baz. So we need to fire that up for a bit. Right, thanks everybody. Back later in the week. Good luck with whatever you're doing this week. We will see you down the road. Cheers.